He thinks he has caught the dumbest criminals ever. He has no idea he is actually interrogating his own commanding officers. To fully understand how badly this officer messed up, I have divided this video into 3 distinct parts. Part 1. The profiling. We analyze how the officer escalates a hunch into an unlawful interrogation. Part 2. The twist. The moment the men reveal who they really are, and the officer's instant panic. Part 3. The lawsuit analysis. We break down the millions of dollars in liability this officer just exposed his department to. Let's get into it.
In broad daylight. So, yeah, no, you're having breakfast. You got grain and chicken. Chicken and waffles. That's what we went out of 37.
We jump straight into the conflict. The officer approaches the booth not with a question, but with a verdict. He looks at 2 men sitting quietly and immediately labels them. Listen to his opening aggression. The dumbest criminals ever planning what looks to be a heist. He doesn't say suspects. He says criminals. This is a critical legal distinction. Before he has seen a single piece of identification or asked a single investigative question, he has already decided their guilt based entirely on their appearance. He claims his reasonable suspicion comes from a phone call from a waitress named Misty. This is legally weak. An unverified tip from a civilian does not grant an officer the right to detain citizens without independent corroboration. But this officer ignores the law. He points to a rolled-up piece of blue paper on the table and calls it Exhibit 1A. He treats a set of blueprints like a smoking gun. In his mind, 2 black men possessing architectural drawings near a bank can only mean one thing: robbery. He refuses to entertain the idea that they could be contractors, architects, or business owners. He has trapped himself in a confirmation bias loop where everything they do is evidence of a crime. The men try to de-escalate. They explain they are simply having breakfast. They ask if having blueprints is against the rules. The officer's response is chilling and reveals the true nature of this stop. He tells them, "You can't even beat the stereotype." This is the moment the stop moves from bad policing to potential racial profiling. He isn't stopping them because of their behavior. He is stopping them because they fit a stereotype in his head. He mocks their intelligence, laughing at the idea that they would rob a bank next door. Yet he continues to detain them for that exact imaginary crime. He threatens their freedom explicitly. He tells them, "Otherwise, we're going to be heading downtown." This threat converts a consensual conversation into a custodial detention. He is using the threat of arrest and incarceration to force them to identify themselves, even though he has no articulated crime to investigate. He is bullying them, plain and simple. He believes he has the upper hand. He believes he is the predator cornering 2 helpless civilians. He is completely unaware that he is interrogating men who likely have more time on the force than he does.
And we were actually here, this blueprint, we were going to serve a warrant to the bank manager across the street, and you're about 5 minutes from blowing our cover.
Okay.
The interrogation intensifies. The officer demands, "Make it make sense for me." He is trying to reverse the burden of proof. In the United States, citizens do not have to prove they are innocent. The police must prove they are guilty. But this officer continues to press, using logical fallacies to justify his harassment. He argues that because they are looking at the building from across the street, they must be casing the joint. He dismisses their calm demeanor as arrogance. He is desperate to find a reason, any reason, to put them in handcuffs. The men at the table are growing tired of the game. They ask the golden legal question, "Are we being detained?" The officer dodges the question but implies they are not free to leave until they show ID. This is a violation of the 4th Amendment, as he still lacks reasonable articulable suspicion. He pushes one final time, demanding their identification to clear this up. He thinks he is about to run their names and find warrants. He thinks he is about to be the hero who stopped the great bank robbery. Watch the man on the right. He reaches into his pocket. The officer is expecting a driver's license, or perhaps a weapon. He is ready to escalate. But the man doesn't pull out a wallet. He pulls out a leather case with a gold shield. The words he speaks next shatter the officer's reality. "I'm Detective Brown, and this is my partner, Detective Black." The silence is deafening. The officer freezes. The dumb criminals he was mocking are actually undercover detectives. And the blueprints? They weren't for a robbery. The detectives reveal they were waiting to serve a warrant on the bank manager next door. The irony is crushing. The uniformed officer wasn't stopping a crime. He was actively obstructing a police operation. The detective twists the knife, telling him, "You're about 5 minutes from blowing our cover." The transformation in the officer is instant and pathetic. The arrogance evaporates. The tough guy persona vanishes. He starts stammering, stumbling over his words. "I guess I don't need to see any ID," he mumbles. He is so terrified of the report that is going to be filed against him that he offers to pay for their breakfast. He tries to laugh it off, saying good luck in your operation, before turning and fleeing the diner as fast as his legs can carry him. He knows he has just humiliated himself in front of superior officers, and he is desperate to escape the consequences.
Good luck in your operation. I'm so sorry.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Have a great day.
The video ends with the officer paying the bill and running away, but let's strip away the fact that they were detectives. This is the most critical part of the analysis. Let's assume these were two civilian architects, legitimate contractors, or business owners. If they were civilians, this officer wouldn't just be embarrassed. He would be facing a massive civil liability lawsuit that could bankrupt him and cost the city millions. We need to audit the financial damage of this interaction because it exposes the department to severe risk management failures. First, we have a clear and undeniable Fourth Amendment violation. The officer initiated an investigatory detention, known as a Terry stop, without reasonable articulable suspicion, RAS. Possession of blueprints is not a crime. Eating breakfast is not a crime. Sitting in a booth is not a crime. By threatening to take them downtown based solely on a hunch, he converted a consensual encounter into an unlawful seizure. In a federal Section 1983 civil rights lawsuit, damages for unlawful detention without probable cause are significant. Juries do not look kindly on officers who threaten to arrest innocent citizens just to stroke their own ego. Second, and financially more devastating, is the claim for racial profiling. The officer's specific choice of words, calling them dumb criminals and referencing stereotypes, provides strong evidence for a discrimination claim under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Civil rights attorneys would argue that the only reason for the stop was the race of the subjects, not their behavior. Settlements for racial profiling combined with unlawful seizure in 2024 often range from $75,000 to $300,000, depending on the jurisdiction. This is paid out by the city's liability insurance policy, which is funded directly by taxpayer dollars. Third, the officer faces a claim for defamation per se. By loudly accusing professional businessmen of being bank robbers in a public diner full of customers and staff, he has imputed a serious crime to them. This destroys their reputation. A business owner could sue for lost revenue and reputational harm, adding tens of thousands of dollars to the settlement payout in compensatory damages. Additionally, because the officer acted with malice and arrogance, a jury would likely award punitive damages, which are designed specifically to punish the wrongdoer. Finally, we must look at the officer's personal exposure, qualified immunity. This legal doctrine protects government officials from personal liability, but only if they do not violate clearly established statutory or constitutional rights. It is clearly established law that you cannot detain people based on a waitress's gossip and a racial stereotype. If a federal judge strips the officer of qualified immunity, the city's insurance steps aside. The officer faces personal bankruptcy. His personal assets, his home equity, his personal savings, his 401k, and his future wages become targets for the victim's legal team to satisfy the legal judgment. Furthermore, this level of incompetence is grounds for termination for cause, meaning he would forfeit his defined benefit pension, a loss valued at over $1.5 million in lifetime earnings. The officer escaped this time only because the victims were on the same payroll. But if they had been civilians, this 4-minute breakfast interruption could have cost the department a $250,000 settlement. It is a masterclass in the high cost of bias-based policing.